So, you want to start making videos. Perhaps you're learning to edit videos as a side hobby, you're just starting a YouTube channel, or you want to make short films. Naturally, you popped over to the internet to see how to start and what hardware you would need and how much it would cost.
This computer's price tag looks like a telephone number. I need an ergonomic mouse. 32 gigabytes of RAM? I need to buy a flock of sheep to edit videos? I either pay my rent or I buy this Gandalf mouse. Final Cut Pro? I don't think I'll be cutting anything this month except my food budget, to be honest. Ugh, never mind. I'll just mindlessly scroll TikTok until I feel like I'm one of the Walking Dead.
If that was you, then I'm here to guide you through it all and make it seem less complicated. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can begin video editing on a budget, and I'll be helping you choose the best hardware and software for the lowest prices. Let's go!
Wait. Why should I listen to you? How do I know you're not an unqualified nobody who just wants YouTube views?
Well, I guess you don't. Personally, I'm just trying to help people start an expensive hobby without being forced to spend thousands on it. But I suppose you could always watch another YouTuber's video and have them recommend products they're sponsored by, instead of what you really need. First, you need an editing machine. Safe to say, in this field, more power is better. Power! But you also don't need to drop $2,000 on a MacBook Pro for your first machine, especially if you're just trying this out as a hobby. I'm not going to get really technical with hardware specifications, as this is supposed to be an entry-level video, but I will walk you through what I think are the best budget options for their prices. Quick disclaimer, I haven't tested all of these machines and components personally, and neither am I sponsored by any of them. I've only chosen them by reputation and hardware specifications. I recommend doing extra research on these machines if you plan on buying one, just to be sure. Our three budget ranges are $100, $300, and $500 US. So, let's dive in. For $100 and under, there's honestly not a whole lot you can do, but you might also be surprised at what you can do. Obviously, you won't be editing 4K footage on anything in this price range, but, and I know a lot of people will contest this, you can do some editing on a machine of this price. Case in point, my first machine was a modified Dell Latitude 5480, the i5 edition for those wondering, and I doubled the RAM. The total cost of the computer parts was $40. How, you might be asking? Well, eBay is a great place to find broken tech that nobody wants, and a lot of it still works perfectly well. In my case, I bought a laptop with a broken screen. It was useless to the seller as a laptop, but that didn't mean it couldn't still function as a computer. I just had to plug in an external monitor. To save space, I disassembled it and threw away anything I could, then rebuilt it into a new case made of acrylic sheets. By today's standards, this is a pretty weak machine, but I still managed to edit my first 50 videos on it, each roughly 2 hours of footage to deal with. I didn't use a load of special effects and color grading, and it could be painful sometimes, but it worked for about a year until I upgraded.
Upgraded?
Yeah, okay, I stuck an RTX 3080 Ti inside a 13-year-old gaming PC. It runs great.
Sure it does.
Shut up. So, safe to say that technically you can edit on a $100 machine, but only if you're willing to make compromises and be creative. Jumping up $200, we find ourselves with far more capability than before. On a $300 budget, as of 2026, you can buy yourself an M1 Mac Mini, which is already far more powerful than a Latitude 5480. It should be able to process 1080p footage with no problem, and some light 4K footage, and as a bonus, it can fit in almost any desk setup. And it looks pretty snazzy too.
Sup?
If you decide to buy this machine, see if you can snatch the 16GB RAM version, as it should handle the editing a lot better. Honestly though, you'd probably be better off getting a used machine of greater power, as $300 still won't get you anything really powerful, so consider trying to find a used M2 Mac Mini. At this price range, you can also try finding used computers of respectable power that aren't Macs. Look for used gaming PCs especially, as they can be pretty powerful. Just make sure you buy from a seller with good reviews. Once we hit $500, the options really start to open up. This is also where it kind of stops being budget friendly, but bear with me. Starting off, if you're a student, you are eligible for Apple's Education Discount Program, which means you get 10% off of some of their products. This makes the most obvious computer choice here the M4 Mac Mini. I'm not going to sing its praises here, but it can handle almost anything you throw at it, as of 2026. It'll likely be a really good machine in years to come as well. If you're not a student, you can either wait for it to drop close to $500 in an Amazon deal, or try to find a used one. Desktop gaming PCs are also a good option here, as at this price range, you can now buy some of them new, though I still recommend going with used options. Of course, a computer just being labeled as a gaming or editing PC does not make it one. Look for listings that say i7 CPU at 3.2 GHz. 16 or 32 gigabytes RAM, and dedicated graphics card. Quick editor's note. Unfortunately, even at $500, it's going to be tough to find a brand new PC that will edit with ease. Most of them are going to have pretty weak graphics cards. This is bad. Building a custom PC with used parts would probably be better for this budget, but even more unfortunately, including a segment on how to select hardware for a custom-built PC would bloat this video beyond imagination. So just let me know if you want me to make a separate video on that topic. As a last note, if you're going to be a professional editor and you have people relying on you to edit their videos and movies in a timely fashion, you're going to need to dig deep into your pocket and buy some proper, long-lasting, powerful hardware. Or, just get an M4 Mac Mini. That works too. Whew, we're out of the PC woods. Onto the peripherals. The monitors, keyboard, mouse, speakers, and microphone. Let's start with the monitor. Once again, as a beginner editor, you don't need anything fancy, though you definitely will want more than just a laptop screen. You can get by with one monitor, as long as it isn't a laptop screen, though 2 definitely helps. If you have a laptop, the screen and an external monitor is a good starting place, though many people use a total of 3. I suggest starting with 2, however, as sometimes that's all you'll need, and it would be annoying to discover you spent extra money for nothing. The primary monitor, that's the one you'll be using most of the time, should be relatively large. 20 inches is okay, but 23 inches is better, and 27 inches is even better, but usually the larger the monitor, the larger the price tag. Obviously, desk space is something to consider here, so if you can't get a massive monitor, that's okay. 1080p is certainly a good resolution to start with, though at 27 inches it might look pixelated. 2K or 1440p is a better resolution, especially if you do a lot of screen recordings. Don't worry too much about refresh rates and HDR, 60Hz refresh rate is fine. Just get something that fits your budget. $130 ought to get you something perfectly good if you buy new, but bear in mind that local retailers, thrift stores, state surplus stores, and other used tech stores are hidden gems when it comes to finding budget tech for your setup. Case in point, my monitors and PC are from a thrift store, and I got them for an outstandingly good price. If you don't really care about any of this, resolution, refresh rate, IPS paneling, whatever, and just want a big monitor, they are even more valuable places to look, and I highly recommend trying to find one. You might be thinking that you need a fancy mechanical keyboard and an ergonomic mouse for editing. Well, you don't. Your wrist might get tired if you use a heavy mouse for hours, but I really wouldn't bother spending extra to get some fancy clicky keyboard and an ultra ergonomic art piece. Those are for later, if you ever decide to upgrade your setup. Now, depending on the type of video making you do, say YouTube, you might need a microphone. Neumann? Hold a second, I need to look up how to pronounce that. Generally, it's pronounced like Neumann. Huh. Okay. Once again, you don't need to go out and empty the bank on a Neumann studio microphone. In fact, it's possible that you already have the hardware you need in your pocket.
What have I got in my pocket?
That's no fair.
iPhone microphones, and sometimes MacBook microphones as well, can actually do a reasonably good job when it comes to audio quality. Obviously, you'll need to run it through some processing, but that's the case with most microphones anyway. Even if it isn't an iPhone, it might have a good quality mic in it anyway. I've left a link in the description to a video showing how to process your phone microphone to make it sound professional. Now, if your phone microphone doesn't sound the best, you can still get great audio quality without spending hundreds. Allow me to present you with the JLab Talk Go microphone, the exact same mic, in fact, that you're hearing right now. Not sponsored. Coming in at $40 US, it's definitely a good option when it comes to budget audio, not to mention easy to use. I have a video on audio processing if you need it, which you can find in the description. Now for the last of the hardware, the speakers. Or headphones, whichever you want. I will admit I can't speak with much authority on this topic as I haven't delved very far into headphones technology, so you'll probably want to do your own research as well, but here's my 2 cents. I use a standard pair of over-the-head Cowan E7 headphones, and they're good enough for me. They're not fancy flatline delivery headphones with perfectly tuned drivers, but they're good enough, which is the point of this video. I would definitely not use earbuds, however, as they will generally give you a very bad representation of what your audio sounds like. Standard headphones are also cheaper than big desk speaker monitors complete with subwoofers, so they are what I recommend buying. Or if you already have some lying around, great, use those. And finally, Finally, we're done with the hardware. Time to move on to the software you'll be using, starting with the video editor DaVinci Resolve. Head to the downloads page and select your operating system, making sure to grab the one that does not say Studio version. As long as you're on Mac or Windows, this should be an easy installation, but if you're on Linux, it's quite a different story. You can technically install DaVinci Resolve on Linux. I am in fact editing this video on Linux Resolve, but it is an absolute pain in every inch of your posterior to get it to work. It's taken me months to get it to install properly, even with my Nvidia GPU, which is the supported brand for Linux Resolve. There are too many different ways of getting it to work for Linux for me to list, so you'll have to do your own research. You'll also be wanting a piece of software called Audacity for audio processing, and OBS Studio if you do screen recordings. If you're learning this for YouTube, you'll also need a photo editing app for thumbnails, and we'll be going with GIMP. I have installation tutorials for all three of these apps, which I will link in the description. There should also be a pop-up thingy somewhere on the screen, if I remember to put one in. Alright, so I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to use DaVinci Resolve, just to kickstart you on your video editing journey. Just the basics that I think you need to know. So, let's go. I already have DaVinci Resolve open here, so let's make a new project, and we'll just use the default name. And here is our new project. So the first thing you need to know how to do is import video footage. It's very simple. Go into your file explorer, grab your footage and drag it in to the media pool and change the frame rate. That's just so that the whole project frame rate matches the footage that you dragged in. Just gonna drag in my voiceover as well. These are just some clips from a short I made a few days ago. Now drag your footage into the timeline. It's literally just click and drag, and I'm gonna drag in my voiceover as well. There we are. So, second thing you need to know how to do is split your footage. You can do this two ways. You can either select the blade tool and just start pressing around on your clips and just splitting them into different pieces, but that's rather slow. It's not very efficient, and it's not the way that I do it. I don't think that's the way that anybody does it really, just because it's so slow. What you can do instead is bind the split action to a keyboard shortcut. I have mine set to C, and I can just drag the playhead around and click C, and it's just much faster. I forget what the default keys are for the split action, but you can set your own custom ones by going up into DaVinci Resolve, keyboard customization, and searching split. Scroll down to timeline, and here we are, split clips. I have mine set to C, so every time I press C, I'll split a clip. The next thing you need to know how to do is delete clips. This is also very easy, but there are also two ways of doing it. You can either select your clip and click backspace, and that will leave this empty space where it was, or you can select your clip and click delete, and that will remove any blank space. You do want to be careful when using ripple delete because it can sometimes do weird things, like right here, where it just sort of pushes into this piece here, but it is far more efficient than selecting your clips, clicking backspace for each one, and then selecting your clips here and dragging them until they snap. It's just much easier to split all your clips, select them, and ripple delete. Just make sure that nothing funny happens at the transition point. Now that we know how to split and ripple delete, I can go through and cut up my voiceover so that there are no silent spots. And there we are. I've cut up my voiceover. I generally cut out most of the silences in the voiceover, but I always go back to listen to it and make more nuanced edits so that it doesn't sound really jerky. Alright, so the next thing you should know is how to transform your clips, as in zoom in and move around from like side to side and up and down, that sort. So if you don't have this panel here, select a video clip and click on Inspector. And now you have all of these tools here which you can use to transform the video clip and edit it and do a bunch of other fun stuff. We're just going to quickly run through these. Zoom is exactly what it sounds like. You use it to zoom in on the video footage. We can use this, position X and position Y to move it around. Or you can click this little thing here in the corner, and now you can just click and drag to transform the video footage. This is for rotating your video clips. Cropping is useful to know. It's also pretty self-explanatory. You just use it to crop clips. I use that sometimes, but not very often. For example, you might use it to crop off the taskbar. Maybe you don't want that in there, so you just use crop bottom to crop it off. Stabilization here is sometimes useful if you need to stabilize some shaky camera footage. And speed change, here we are. And you could just use that to change the speed of the footage. So it can be really zippy, or it can can be really slow. You get the idea. And you can use pitch correction or not just by checking or unchecking this box. Alright, so the next thing you need to know about is linking and unlinking clips. What are linked clips? These are. See, if I select either one of these tracks, the video track or the audio track, it'll select both of them, and this is useful if you want to make aligned cuts on both clips, or if you want to move both around at the same time. But maybe you don't want that. In this case, this is just a completely silent audio track, and I don't want it, and I need to delete it. But every time I click on it, it selects the video track as well, and if I delete it, it's gonna delete both. So what you do is you can either temporarily turn off linking, and I can now select it and just remove it, or if you want to keep linking on, you can press Ctrl-Alt-L to unlink the clips. And now even if linking is on, that is not linked. You can edit them independently, and now I can just delete that. You might not see why that's useful now, but it is actually quite useful, and it will come up a lot when you start editing. Another important thing you should know about are text boxes. Go into Effects, down to Titles, and now you can choose from a very wide selection of just different types of text boxes and text styles. I normally go with basic text. It's just basic, and I don't normally need a flashy text box. And you can just insert them into the timeline by clicking and dragging. Now you can click on it and edit its properties over here in the inspector. This is a basic text box. You can change the size of the text. You can change the color to some horrid, lurid magenta. You can change the font. Oh, that does look rather good. I like that. Wow. To think, just a few seconds ago, I called it horrid and lurid. Back to the video. And just like any other video clip, you can zoom. I recommend changing the size and not zooming, because if you zoom too much, it gets weird and pixelated. You can drag it around with this enabled over here in the corner. That works for text boxes too. You can crop it, and you can do all the other normal things you can do with a video clip. Next up are clip transitions. What are clip transitions? Well, let's say I have a picture of a sheep, or a flock of sheep to be accurate, and I want to smoothly transition between my video footage and the picture of the sheep, because if I play it now, it's just going to be hard cut to sheep herd, and maybe you don't want that. So there's a few ways you can do this. If your picture or video footage is on a track above the track that you want to fade from, you can move the mouse up here to the corner, and you can click and drag on this little shape here, and that will edit the fade-in time of the picture on top. And now you should have a nice transition between your video clip and your sheep herd. But what if instead, your picture of a sheep is on the same video track, and you want to do a fade-in? Well, if you leave it like this, what you're going to get is a hard cut from your video footage to darkness, and then the sheep are going to fade in, like this. But I don't really like that. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's very smooth. So what I'm going to instead do is drag this back to where it was, hover my mouse over the join between these two video clips until it turns into this little cursor with the two bars, right-click, and select Add 30 frame cross dissolve. And you can choose 14 frame, 60 frame, whichever you want. And now, once again, it should fade nicely between the video clip and the sheep herd. Now for my last tip. You can hover over the end of a video clip or an audio clip until the mouse turns into this little icon, and you can click and drag, and this just trims the end of the clip. And sometimes I find this is just easier to use instead of using the playhead and finding the exact spot, cutting and deleting. It's just sometimes easier, especially because you can select the ends of both of these clips, like that, and drag them around. And this is nice because sometimes you just don't want to cut the end off of this clip and then drag this clip into place, because you can just drag them around, like that. The last thing you need to know is how to export. After all, your video's kind of useless if you can't get it out of DaVinci Resolve. Go down to the bottom bar and select the little Elon Musk SpaceX rocket. Just select the little rocket, and it will take you to the Deliver page, and this is where you export your video. Now, there are a bunch of different presets that you can use. You can use YouTube 1080p, Vimeo, is that how you pronounce it? Final Cut Pro 7, and so on and so on. You can even use audio only if you just have audio clips and no video footage. I can't really show all of the best settings here because I'm running Linux DaVinci Resolve and it just doesn't have them. But if you don't care too much about video footage quality and you don't mind that much about compression and all that, just use the YouTube 1080p setting. If you're on Windows, there should be some up here that say H.264, and you probably will want to select one of those. But because I'm on Linux, I just have YouTube 1080p Custom, ProRes, and all the other ones. And I'm gonna stick with ProRes. Give your video a name, a location, and there are a bunch of advanced settings that you probably don't need to worry about right now. If you're really worried about the quality of your footage, you can just look up some videos about how to squeeze the highest quality you can out of your export, but for now, don't worry too much about the advanced settings. Click Add to Render Queue, and render all. And depending on how long your video is and how powerful your computer is, this could either take 6 hours or it could take 6 minutes. I've had both happen. So that's it for our quick Resolve tutorial. My last very important piece of advice is this, and it especially holds true for YouTube. Effects are the secret sauce, not the whole dish. By which I mean, anyone can apply a bunch of effects and explosions to some footage, but it takes skill to produce a video that's actually worth watching. So, before you add any effects, video effects, sound effects to your video, try and see if you can make something that feels polished without them. Your videos will be far better if you start this way, and related to this warning, if this is your first time making a video, don't be discouraged if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want. It takes a long time to become proficient in this field, and it might take 20, 30, or even 50 videos before they start turning out how you want. Just don't be too hard on yourself is all I'm saying. And with that, we're finished. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you think I missed out something or got something wrong, please let me know, and I'll try and alert people in a pinned comment. I've also linked my tutorial on how to use Audacity to record audio in the description. But other than that, you are now ready to make your first video. So, power on your computer, open up DaVinci Resolve, and get editing. See ya!